leaders behind the mass protests that have paralyzed key parts of the city have not ruled out blocking government headquarters at Tema again in order to exert pressure on officials to begin a dialogue.
They have stepped up their pro-democracy campaign after talks due to take place today were cancelled. Demonstrators are gathering on Connaught Road Central and Harcourt Road, which they now call Umbrella Square, to press for the resignation of Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying and the reversal of Beijing's strict framework on political reform. Organizers urge people to set up tents for a prolonged occupation to protest against the government's decision to scrap a meeting scheduled for today. I went to Admiralty earlier to gauge views on the streets. The atmosphere in Admiralty was calm and peaceful this morning as the mass sit-in in support of greater democracy entered its 13th day. Despite calls by their opponents to end the occupation, protesters on Connaught Road Central and organizers of the civil disobedience movement remained defiant. Occupy Central leader Benny Tai, Alex Chow, who heads the Federation of Students, and scholarism convener Joshua Wong stressed their campaign was in for the long haul. Their call came a day after the government unilaterally cancelled a long-anticipated meeting scheduled for today. Chief Secretary Carrie Lam blamed the Federation and scholarism for trying to use the meeting to incite more people to join the protest and accused them of seriously undermining the basis of a constructive dialogue.
After Carrie Lam tried to stop the talks of students with government, we need to show our anger and persistence with the long-term Occupy action.
Chow said he doesn't rule out laying siege to the government's headquarters. The current protest kicked off on the night of the 26th of September when students barged into Civic Square.
We are now all planning the further action for escalating if the government keeps denying the meeting. And we could see that one of the options is to block the governmental building again. This is one possibility for having further action, but this is only one of those possibilities.
Chow stressed the ball is now in the government's court to relaunch a dialogue with students.
We have made a miracle that more than several 100,000 people participating in the civil disobedience action. We believe no one will simply give up right now before we could gain any significant achievement. Maybe we would, come to a failure one day, but at least right now at this point, we will not give up.
Barricades have become a common sight at some of the city's main arteries. There have been calls for their removal as the barriers have hindered traffic. But how long they will stay remains to be seen, as both the protesters and the government have blamed each other for the failure to start talks. Protesters on the ground are angry with the government's decision to cancel the meeting and pointed fingers at Lam.
She's just wasting our times. She said that she will negotiate, but she canceled the meeting yesterday.
I think this is unacceptable because we expected we have a meeting and have something changes, but they cancel the meeting, then our dream and our hope disappeared.
I think the most important thing is the attitude of the government towards this movement. And it seems that the government does not really concern about the idea of the students.
With no date set for a meeting and no end to the occupation in sight, some said contacts between the two sides are the only way out of the current crisis, but others are not so hopeful.
We think that communication between students and the government will bring us a better Hong Kong, so we will continue strive for those communications and meetings.
I don't feel optimistic because now we can see that the relationship between the government and the citizens are so bad. So I don't think we will have anything change.
As the second week of the unprecedented protests approached, many who have watched the unfolding drama on the sidelines are waiting for the next installment. But the chief executive and some of his top ministers, including his number two, will be away in Guangzhou for most of the weekend on a trade mission. A sit-in is continuing at Mongkok, where a man accused of taking lewd pictures was escorted to a police station.
At government headquarters, civil servants continued their normal routine, but warned that vital supplies are running out. ATV's An Chang reports.
It appeared to be business as usual for civil servants as they reported for work, but they had to pass through a 2-meter gap across the footbridge leading to government headquarters in Admiralty. With many roads, including Tim Hwa Avenue, still blocked, vehicle access to the building was greatly hindered. Speaking at a press conference this afternoon, Director of Administration Kitty Choi said many basic operations have been affected, including the delivery of documents and basic supplies, such as water and paper. Meetings have had to be suspended or cancelled because visitors were unable to reach Tamar by car. The protests forced the organizers of the Wine and Dine Festival, slated to be held at the Central Promenade at the end of this month, to change the venue to the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal. Dozens of bus services remained suspended, while many routes were diverted as protesters continued to block roads in Admiralty, Mongkok, and Causeway Bay. The intersection of Argyle Street and Nathan Road in Mongkok was crowded with protesters. Many had pitched tents and set up makeshift beds with plans to stay for the long haul. A volunteer who was part of the Sunflower Student movement in Taiwan was in Mongkok to encourage the protesters. The protests have also become an attraction for visitors.
Because I've heard that there's been violence in the past, and I think that if somebody from another country is sitting here, even if I don't support one side or the other, just the fact that somebody with a different passport is here, it will keep people more calm.
Mongkok was calm in the day, with police keeping a close watch. They were called to intervene after a man was accused of taking lewd pictures of girls. The man denied the allegations and said he was scared because he was being chased and was hit with a newspaper by a woman. He was taken to a police station after the crowds demanded that officers check his camera. Members of the Asia-Pacific Law Association showed their appreciation for the police by turning up at Mongkok Station to hand over flowers and food hampers. An Chang, ATV News.